A fake marriage that turned into a billionaire's true love. The wedding hall fell completely silent. Hundreds of guests stared at the bride standing alone on the stage. Her white dress shimmered under the lights, but tears rolled down her cheeks as whispers spread through the crowd. Did the groom run away? What a disgrace! I heard he left the country this morning. Emily Carter lowered her head. She wanted the floor to open beneath her and swallow her forever. Her wedding had turned into the most humiliating day of her life. Just as she was about to walk away, the massive doors of the hall slowly opened. A tall man dressed in a perfectly tailored black suit walked inside. His confident footsteps echoed across the silent room. Everyone turned to look at him. He wasn't the groom. He was someone far more powerful. Alexander Knight, the youngest billionaire CEO in New York. A man whose face appeared on business magazines every month. Cold, untouchable, dangerously handsome. No one understood why he had come. Alexander walked straight toward Emily without saying a single word. Then he looked into her tear-filled eyes and calmly asked, "Will you marry me instead?" The entire hall exploded into shock. Chapter 1. A proposal nobody expected. Emily couldn't believe what she had just heard. "Excuse me," she whispered. Alexander remained expressionless. "I need a wife. And I believe you need a husband." Everyone thought this had to be a joke. Reporters rushed closer. Guests began recording videos with their phones. Emily's parents looked completely confused. Her mother stepped forward. "Mr. Knight, what are you talking about?" Alexander answered calmly. "This isn't love. It's a business agreement." Emily frowned. "I don't understand." Alexander took a deep breath. "My grandfather is dying. He wants to see me married before he passes away. If I refuse, I lose control of Knight Group." The crowd gasped. Knight Group was worth billions of dollars. Alexander continued, "My grandfather wrote one condition into his will. I must marry within 7 days. I don't have time to find someone." He looked directly into Emily's eyes. "You need your dignity back. I need a wife. We can help each other." Emily's heart raced. Everything had happened so quickly. Only 10 minutes ago, she had been abandoned. Now, the richest man in the city was asking her to become his wife. Emily's secret. Nobody knew the real reason Emily needed money. 3 years earlier, her father had suffered a serious accident. Medical bills destroyed the family. They lost their home. Emily worked 2 jobs every day. Morning at a coffee shop, night at a bookstore. Still, it was never enough. The man who had abandoned her at the altar wasn't just a coward. He had secretly stolen her savings before disappearing. Emily was left with nothing. Absolutely nothing. Alexander noticed the pain in her eyes. "I'll pay every debt your family has." Emily looked up. "What?" "I'll also cover your father's treatment. You'll receive a monthly allowance. But after 1 year, we divorce peacefully. No questions. No feelings. No expectations." It sounded simple. Almost too simple. The billionaire's rules. Alexander handed Emily a document. "Read it." She scanned the first page. Marriage agreement. Rule 1. Never reveal this marriage is fake. Rule 2. Appear together whenever necessary. Rule 3. No romance. Rule 4. No falling in love. Emily almost laughed. "What if one of us breaks Rule 4? Alexander answered without hesitation. "I won't." His confidence irritated her. "So sure. I don't believe in love." Those words carried unexpected sadness. As if love had already betrayed him once. Emily signed the contract. Alexander signed immediately after. Then, he gently held out his hand. "Mrs. Knight." Emily hesitated. Then she placed her hand in his. Camera flashes exploded across the hall. The fake marriage had officially begun. A new life. That evening, Emily entered Knight Mansion. It wasn't a house. It looked like a palace. Marble floors, crystal chandeliers, private gardens, indoor swimming pool, personal chefs, more than 20 servants. Emily stood frozen. Alexander noticed. "You'll get used to it." She smiled nervously. "I don't think anyone gets used to living in a museum." For the first time, Alexander almost smiled. Almost. The head housekeeper welcomed her. "Welcome home, Mrs. Knight." Emily wasn't sure how to react. Home. Nothing about this place felt like home. Separate worlds. Dinner was awkward. Emily reached for a glass of water. Alexander was reading financial reports while eating. You work during dinner? I work all the time. When do you rest? When the company succeeds. When do you enjoy life? He looked at her. I don't. Emily suddenly felt sorry for him. How lonely must someone be, to have billions of dollars, yet no happiness? The grandfather. The next morning, Alexander took Emily to the hospital. An elderly man smiled warmly the moment he saw them. So, you finally got married? Alexander nodded. Emily could immediately see how much Alexander loved his grandfather. It was hidden beneath his cold personality. The old man held Emily's hands. My grandson pretends to be strong, but he's been lonely since his parents died. Emily looked at Alexander. He quietly turned toward the window, avoiding eye contact. His grandfather whispered softly, "Take care of him." Emily didn't answer, because this marriage wasn't supposed to become real. The unexpected moment. As they left the hospital, a group of reporters surrounded them. Couple photo. Mr. Knight, look this way. One reporter shouted, Mr. Knight, kiss your bride. Emily's face turned bright red. Alexander remained calm. Without warning, he gently wrapped an arm around her waist. She froze. Their eyes met. For just 1 second, neither of them remembered the contract. Then Alexander leaned closer, just enough to convince every camera they were a happily married couple. The reporters cheered. The photos spread across the internet within minutes. The headline was everywhere. New York's most eligible billionaire secretly marries an ordinary girl. Neither of them knew. This fake marriage had already attracted dangerous attention. And somewhere across the city, a mysterious woman stared at the news on her phone. She slowly smiled. So, Alexander finally got married. She picked up her purse. It's time to come back. The woman who returned. Alexander's office. The room was silent except for the sound of rain tapping against the floor-to-ceiling windows. Emily sat on the leather sofa, flipping through a fashion magazine. She wasn't really reading. Across the room, Alexander was leading a board meeting over a video call. His voice was calm and commanding. No delays. I want the project completed before Friday. If anyone can't meet the deadline, I'll find someone who can. The executives on the screen immediately nodded. Emily secretly watched him. Outside the office, people feared Alexander Knight. Inside, he looked exhausted. For the first time, she realized something. Power came with loneliness. An unexpected visitor. A few minutes later, Alexander's assistant rushed into the office. Sir, there is someone who insists on seeing you. Alexander didn't even look up. I have no appointments. The assistant hesitated. She said, You'll regret refusing. Before Alexander could answer, the office door opened. A beautiful woman walked inside wearing a designer dress and expensive jewelry. Her confident smile disappeared the moment she saw Emily. Emily stood up politely. The woman ignored her. She looked only at Alexander. It's been 3 years. Alexander's expression turned colder than ice. Lily! Emily immediately understood. This woman knew him. Very well. The woman from his past. Lily Harper. Alexander's former fiancée. The woman every newspaper once called the future Mrs. Knight. 3 years ago, she disappeared without saying goodbye. The wedding was cancelled. The business world exploded with rumors. Nobody ever learned the truth. Now, she was standing right in front of him. I've come back, Lily said softly. Alexander closed his laptop. Why? She smiled. Because I made the biggest mistake of my life. I never stopped loving you. Emily felt awkward. She quietly picked up her handbag. I'll wait outside. Alexander stopped her. No. His voice was firm. Stay. Lily's smile faded. She looked at Emily for the first time. So, this is your new wife? Emily nodded politely. Yes. Lily laughed. You married her? The insult was obvious. Emily lowered her eyes but said nothing. Alexander's voice became sharp. Watch your words. Lily looked surprised. You've changed. Alexander answered. No. I've simply learned who deserves my respect. A dangerous offer. After Lily left, Emily finally asked, Was she the reason you stopped believing in love? Alexander remained silent. Minutes passed. Finally, he spoke. The day before our wedding. She accepted $50 million. To leave me. Emily couldn't believe it. Who paid her? My business rival. He wanted me emotionally destroyed before a major merger. And it worked. Alexander looked out the window. I lost the woman I loved. And almost lost my company. Emily suddenly understood. Alexander wasn't cold by nature. He had built walls around his heart, learning to live together. Days passed. Emily slowly adjusted to life in the mansion. She learned everyone's names. She thanked every servant personally. She even helped the elderly gardener plant roses. The staff couldn't believe it. One maid whispered, I've worked here for 15 years. Mrs. Knight is the first person who asked how my family is. Word spread quickly. Everyone in the mansion began respecting Emily. Even the strict housekeeper smiled more often. Alexander noticed. You've changed this house. Emily laughed. I didn't do anything. You reminded everyone they're human. For the first time in years, the mansion felt warm. The charity gala. 1 week later, Alexander and Emily attended a prestigious charity gala. The country's wealthiest families filled the ballroom. As soon as they entered, every camera flashed. Whispers spread. That's the girl who married Alexander. She looks so ordinary. She doesn't belong here. Emily pretended not to hear, but every word hurt. Suddenly, a woman accidentally spilled a glass of red wine across Emily's white gown. The crowd gasped. Oh dear, the woman said with a fake smile. I'm so sorry. Emily knew it wasn't an accident. Before she could react, Alexander removed his expensive suit jacket and gently placed it over her shoulders. Then he looked directly at the woman. His voice was calm, but terrifying. If my wife leaves this party embarrassed, I promise, your family will never receive another invitation. The woman's face turned pale. She apologized immediately. Alexander took Emily's hand. Let's go. As they walked away, Emily whispered, You didn't have to do that. Alexander replied, I did. No one humiliates my wife. Those simple words stayed in Emily's heart. The first crack in the rules. Late that night, back at the mansion, Emily couldn't sleep. She walked into the garden. To her surprise, Alexander was already there. He was sitting alone beside a small lake. You can't sleep either, she asked. He shook his head. I usually work at this hour. Then why are you here? Alexander looked up at the stars. My mother loved this garden. We used to come here every night. Emily quietly sat beside him. Neither of them spoke for several minutes. The silence wasn't uncomfortable. It felt peaceful. Then Alexander smiled. A real smile. Not forced. Not fake. Emily stared in surprise. You actually smile. Alexander laughed softly. So I've been told. At that moment, neither of them noticed how close they were sitting, or how naturally the conversation flowed. Without realizing it, Rule 4, no falling in love, had begun to crack. Meanwhile, across the city, Lily Harper sat in a luxury hotel suite. A mysterious man entered the room. Did Alexander believe you? He asked. Lily smirked. He doesn't trust me anymore. The man smiled coldly. That's fine. We don't need his trust. We only need his wife. Lily frowned. What do you mean? The man placed a file on the table. Inside was a photograph of Emily. I've investigated her. She has a secret. If Alexander discovers it, their marriage will collapse. Lily slowly smiled. So, the game begins. The secret that could destroy everything. The next morning, Emily woke up with an uneasy feeling. She couldn't explain why. Maybe it was the strange conversation with Alexander in the garden. Or maybe it was the feeling that someone was watching her. She looked out of the bedroom window. A black car was parked across the street. The engine was running. The windows were tinted. As soon as Emily looked at it, the car drove away. She tried to ignore it, but the feeling stayed with her. A perfect morning. Downstairs, breakfast was already prepared. Alexander was reading financial reports while drinking coffee. Emily smiled. You really don't know how to take a day off, do you? Without looking up, he replied. I'll rest when I'm 80. Emily laughed. At this rate, your company will retire before you do. For the first time in front of the staff, Alexander laughed. Everyone in the dining room froze. The housekeeper whispered to another servant. I haven't seen Mr. Knight laugh in years. Alexander noticed everyone staring. He immediately became serious again. Emily couldn't help smiling. Maybe the cold billionaire wasn't as cold as everyone believed. The hidden file. At night group headquarters, Alexander entered the boardroom. His assistant handed him a confidential file. Sir, our investigators found something about Mrs. Knight. Alexander frowned. What is it? The assistant hesitated. You should read it yourself. Alexander opened the file. Inside were old photographs. Emily, working in a small cafe, taking care of her injured father, selling her jewelry, paying hospital bills. Another page revealed something shocking. She had secretly donated part of her salary every month to an orphanage. Despite barely having enough to survive, she had still helped others. Alexander quietly closed the file. So this is her secret. The assistant looked confused. There is more. We believe someone is trying to use her past against you. Alexander's expression hardened. Find out who. Immediately. Emily's surprise. That afternoon, Emily decided to visit the children's orphanage where she had volunteered for years. She didn't tell Alexander. She wanted to keep doing good without seeking attention. The children screamed with joy as soon as they saw her. Emily, you're back! They hugged her tightly. One little girl asked, Did you really marry a prince? Emily laughed. No, just a man who forgets to smile. The children giggled. She spent hours reading stories, helping with homework, and playing games. It felt like home, but she didn't notice. A photographer hiding outside the gate. Click! 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 Someone was taking pictures. The trap begins. That evening, every major news website published the same headline. Billionaire's wife secretly meets unknown children while hiding her past. The article twisted the truth. It suggested Emily had a hidden family. Some even claimed the children were hers. Within hours, social media exploded. Rumors spread everywhere. Television channels discussed the scandal. Emily stared at the headlines in disbelief. What? This isn't true. Tears filled her eyes. She had done nothing wrong. Yet the entire country was judging her. Alexander's decision. The board of directors immediately called Alexander. Sir, this scandal is damaging the company's reputation. We recommend announcing a divorce. Another director added, Your marriage was a mistake. Alexander listened quietly. Then, he stood up. You've all finished? The room became silent. Alexander looked around the table. If any of you insult my wife again, you may hand in your resignation. The director stared at him. No one expected him to defend Emily. He continued, I know exactly who she is, and she's a better human being than anyone sitting in this room. Then he walked out. The meeting ended in complete silence. The truth. Back at the mansion, Emily sat alone in the living room. She blamed herself. I'm sorry. I've caused problems for your company. Alexander sat across from her. You did nothing wrong. But everyone believes those lies. They'll stop. How can you be so sure? Alexander handed her the investigation file. Emily slowly opened it. She saw the photos, hospital receipts, donation records, letters from the orphanage thanking her. She looked at him with surprise. You investigated me? He nodded. I had to. Were you disappointed? Alexander smiled faintly. I was. Emily's heart sank, until he added, I was disappointed, because I didn't meet you years earlier. Emily couldn't speak. For the first time, someone appreciated her sacrifices instead of judging her. The enemy revealed. Across town, Lily entered a private office. The mysterious man from before stood by the window. Your fake scandal failed, Lily said. The man wasn't worried. It wasn't supposed to destroy her. It was only meant to test Alexander. And now we know. He'll protect her at any cost. Lily frowned. So what's next? The man smiled coldly. We attack. The person Emily loves most. He opened another file. It contained hospital records. A photograph. Emily's father. Lily's eyes widened. You can't be serious. The man replied. Watch me. The first real feeling. Late that night. Rain poured outside. Emily stood on the balcony. Alexander walked over and silently handed her a cup of hot tea. She smiled. Thank you. They watched the rain together. After a long silence, Emily quietly asked, Why are you protecting me so much? Alexander looked into her eyes. For several seconds, he couldn't answer, because the truth scared him. This marriage was supposed to be fake. There were supposed to be no emotions, no attachment, no love. Yet every time Emily smiled, the mansion felt brighter. Every time she cried, his heart felt heavier. For the first time in years, Alexander Knight realized something impossible. He was beginning to fall in love with the woman he had married for only one reason. A contract. The price of love. A cold wind swept across the balcony. Neither Emily nor Alexander spoke. The silence between them was no longer awkward. It was comforting. For a brief moment, the contract, the cameras, and the billion-dollar empire all seemed far away. Then Alexander's phone rang. His expression changed the moment he answered. What? He stood up immediately. When did this happen? Emily's heart began to race. Alexander ended the call and looked at her. It's your father. The hospital was empty. They rushed to the hospital. Emily ran through the corridors. Nurse! Where's my father? The nurses looked frightened. One doctor finally stepped forward. About an hour ago. 3 men dressed as medical staff entered his room. They transferred him into an ambulance. Emily's face turned pale. But he wasn't scheduled for any transfer. The doctor lowered his head. We found that out too late. Emily's legs became weak. Alexander caught her before she fell. He's alive, Alexander said firmly. And I'm bringing him back. A message from the enemy. Minutes later, Alexander received an anonymous text. If you want Emily's father alive, come alone. No police. Attached was an address. An abandoned warehouse near the harbor. Emily grabbed Alexander's arm. You can't go alone. I have to. It could be a trap. Alexander looked into her eyes. I know, but I won't let them hurt your family. For the first time, Emily hugged him without thinking. Please, come back safely. Alexander gently placed his hand on her shoulder. I promise. The warehouse. Midnight. Rain poured over the old harbor. Alexander walked into the dark warehouse alone. The lights suddenly turned on. Slow applause echoed through the room. A man stepped out of the shadows. Victor Steele, the ruthless businessman who had been Alexander's biggest rival for years. He smiled. I was wondering how long it would take. Alexander's voice remained calm. Where is Emily's father? Victor laughed. So direct. I admire that. 2 guards dragged Emily's father into the room. He was tied to a chair but alive. Alexander took 1 step forward. Let him go. Victor shook his head. Not yet. The billion-dollar choice. Victor placed a document on the table. Sign this. Alexander looked at it. It was a contract transferring control of Knight Group's newest technology project. Worth over $2 billion. Victor smiled. 1 signature. You lose the project. And he walks free. Alexander didn't hesitate. He picked up the pen. Victor looked surprised. You aren't even negotiating? Alexander answered quietly. Money can be earned again. A life cannot. Without another word, he signed. Victor laughed loudly. I never thought the great Alexander Knight would become so emotional. Alexander ignored him. Release him. Victor nodded. The guards untied Emily's father. Just as he began walking toward Alexander, Victor suddenly shouted, Stop them! The guards attacked. It had been a trap all along. The escape. Alexander fought back with everything he had. He wasn't a trained fighter, but he refused to let anyone touch Emily's father. After several tense moments, police sirens echoed outside. Victor cursed. Let's go. He and his men escaped through a hidden exit. The police rushed inside moments later. Emily arrived seconds after them. She ran straight to her father. Dad! Tears streamed down her face as she hugged him. Her father smiled weakly. I'm okay. I'm okay. Then Emily turned toward Alexander. She noticed blood on his forehead. You're hurt. Alexander smiled. It's just a scratch. But Emily knew better. He had risked everything, including his own life, for her family, a truth they could no longer hide. Later that night, back at the mansion, the doctor finished treating Alexander's injuries. Emily waited until everyone left. Then she quietly walked into his room. You should be resting. Alexander smiled. I've been ordered to. Emily sat beside him. her eyes filled with tears. Why? He looked confused. Why what? Why would you give away a $2 billion project? For my father? Alexander remained silent. For a long moment, he searched for the right words. Finally, he whispered, because losing money would hurt. Losing you would destroy me. Emily froze. Her heart pounded so loudly she could barely breathe. This wasn't part of the contract. This wasn't pretend anymore. Without saying a word, she reached for his hand. He gently held hers. Neither of them pulled away. For the first time, their marriage felt real. Lily's decision. Across the city, Lily watched the news about the failed kidnapping. She turned off the television. Tears filled her eyes. I've made enough mistakes. She picked up her phone and called Alexander. I need to tell you the truth. I know who's behind everything. Before she could say another word, a black SUV stopped outside her apartment. 2 men stepped out. Lily looked through the window. Her face turned white. They found me. The line suddenly went silent. Alexander stood up immediately. Lily! Lily! The call disconnected. He looked toward Emily. This isn't over. The truth that changed everything. The call had ended. Alexander stared at his phone. Lily! No response. He called again. Her phone was switched off. Emily noticed the concern in his eyes. Do you think she's in danger? Alexander nodded. If Victor believes she knows too much, he won't let her speak. Without wasting another second, Alexander contacted his security team. Find Lily Harper. Search every hotel, airport, and highway. I want updates every 15 minutes. The final attack. The next morning, Night Group headquarters was in complete chaos. Employees rushed through the lobby. News channels surrounded the building. Alexander's assistant ran into his office. Sir, our company's servers have been hacked. The new technology project has been leaked online. Another manager entered. Several investors are pulling out. The company's stock is falling. Within 2 hours, Night Group had lost billions in market value. Victor Steele had launched his biggest attack yet. His goal wasn't just money anymore. He wanted Alexander completely destroyed. Emily's discovery. While everyone was busy handling the crisis, Emily remembered something Lily had said during her visit. I made the biggest mistake of my life. Emily couldn't stop thinking about it. She decided to visit Lily's apartment. The place was empty, but as she turned to leave, she noticed a small notebook hidden beneath the sofa. Inside were handwritten notes, old bank records, emails, and one shocking document. 3 years ago, Victor Steele had threatened Lily's younger brother. If she didn't leave Alexander before the wedding, her brother would disappear forever. Lily hadn't left because she stopped loving Alexander. She had sacrificed her own happiness to save her family. Emily whispered. So, she was protecting him all along. The rescue. Emily immediately called Alexander. I found proof. Victor forced Lily to leave you. Alexander was silent for a moment. Then he said, I think I know where Victor is keeping her. An abandoned estate outside the city. The police surrounded the property. Victor tried to escape through the back gate. But this time, there was nowhere to run. Inside the house, they found Lily tied to a chair. Weak, but alive. Alexander untied her. I'm sorry, Lily whispered through tears. I wanted to tell you the truth years ago. Alexander looked at her calmly. I know. She lowered her head. I never stopped regretting my decision. Alexander gently smiled. You made a painful choice. But my life took a different path. He glanced toward Emily. And it brought me to the woman I was truly meant to meet. Emily's eyes filled with tears. Lily smiled through hers. I think you finally found your happiness. Victor's last move. As police officers escorted Victor away, he suddenly broke free for a moment. He looked directly at Alexander. You think you've won? I already destroyed your company. Alexander answered calmly. No. You only reminded me what really matters. Victor laughed. You lost billions. Alexander smiled. And I found a family. Victor had no reply. Moments later, the police placed him into the vehicle. His empire, his reputation, his power were gone forever. The contract. That evening, Alexander and Emily returned to the mansion. The house was quiet. Alexander walked into his study. He opened the drawer. Inside lay the marriage contract. The The same agreement they had signed months earlier. Rule 1. Rule 2. Rule 3. Rule 4. No falling in love. Alexander looked at Emily. Then, without saying a word, he tore the contract into small pieces. Emily watched in surprise. "The agreement is over," he said softly. "No more pretending. No more fake marriage." He stepped closer. "This time, I want to ask you something honestly." He took a deep breath. "Emily Carter, will you stay with me? Not because of a contract, but because you love me?" Emily couldn't hold back her tears anymore. She smiled through them. "I fell in love with you long before I realized it. And yes, I'll stay." Alexander gently embraced her. This time, there were no cameras, no reporters, no business deals, only two hearts that had finally found each other. 1 year later, Knight Group recovered stronger than ever. Alexander introduced new charity programs across the country. Emily became the head of the Knight Foundation. She built schools, hospitals, and orphanages. The mansion that had once felt cold and lonely was now filled with laughter. Alexander smiled more often. Employees no longer feared him. They respected him. One sunny afternoon, Alexander brought Emily back to the same wedding hall where everything had begun. She looked around and smiled. "I never thought I'd come back here." Alexander knelt on one knee. This time, there was no contract in his hand, only a small velvet box. He opened it. Inside was a beautiful diamond ring. "Emily, our first wedding wasn't real. So, will you marry me again?" Emily laughed through happy tears. "Yes, 1,000 times, yes." The guests applauded. Flowers filled the air. As they exchanged rings, Alexander whispered, "The best decision I ever made was walking into the wrong wedding." Emily smiled. "No, it was walking into the right future." And this time, their love wasn't written on paper. It was written in their hearts. The end read heart.